What's up, guys? It's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing some Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon test hands. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Zach. And this deck is an extremely awesome deck that can actually summon out Odd Eyes Venom, Odd Eyes Wing, and Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon all in the same deck, which is absolutely insane and really awesome. So without further ado, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name skipped every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron, along with test hands. And definitely give Zach some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So this deck is just really cool to be able to play because depending on your opening hand depends on which form of Odd Eyes you actually get to summon out, which is really amazing. And all three of them are super easy to summon to your side of the field, which is really cool. This deck is really interesting with how it plays, and I'm really glad that Zach actually suggested this one because I've always wanted to build a deck based around all the forms of Odd Eyes, which is really cool that you can actually build one based around all three of them. So we're gonna go ahead and pile shuffle up the deck because you guys know that's dad rule number one, that if you don't pile shuffle the deck, you run the risk of bricking. So let's go ahead and give the deck a quick little pile shuffle. If you guys see Odd Eyes Master down in the comments down below, that's actually Zach. So shout out to Zach really quickly for suggesting this really cool deck. So let's go ahead and give the deck a quick shuffle now that we got the deck pile shuffle, and let's see what we can do for our first test hand, because this deck is just really wild in what it can do. So we're going to go ahead and give the deck a quick cut and see what we can do for the first test hand. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, a copy of Spiral Flame Strike, a copy of our Gate Zero, which is really good because we actually need that card to be able to fusion summon, a copy of Odd Eyes Persona Dragon, and a copy of Pendulum Duelist Alliance, which is really cool for this opening hand because you have some really interesting plays that you can actually pull off. So what we're going to do with this opening hand is we're going to go ahead and activate our copy of Spiral Flame Strike, and we're actually going to go for one of our Odd Eyes pieces that we need from the deck, which is going to be our copy of our Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon, which is extremely important to be able to just go ahead and grab that from the deck, which is really cool to be able to just grab your copy of Arc Pendulum directly from the deck to your hand with your copy of Spiral Flame Strike. This is a really weird search card, but really cool. So now that we've got our copy of our Arc Pendulum, we're going to go ahead and throw it in the scale and activate Duelist Alliance to be able to grab out a copy of our Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon from our deck to our hand, the original Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, which is just really good to be able to grab that card directly from our deck to our hand. Now we're actually going to go ahead and throw a scale of our Persona Dragon on the other side and then Pendulum Summon for 3, which is really neat. Now, a really interesting effect of your copy of your Supreme King Gate Zero is that once per turn, you can target one other face-up card that you control and destroy both it and this card. If you do, special summon out a Dragon-type fusion monster or a Synchro monster from your X deck. But its attack and defense become 0. And it has its effects negated, which is totally fine because we're just trying to get it on our side of the field so we can use it as a fusion material, which is really cool. Also, it cannot be used as a material for a Synchro or an XZ summon, which is totally fine because we're actually going for our copy of Odd Eyes Venom Dragon first, which is kind of neat. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and use the copy of Gate Zero to pop itself and a copy of Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. And once we do, our copy of our Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon is actually going to chain to it and special summon from our deck an Odd Eyes monster. It doesn't have to be a dragon, it actually just has to be an Odd Eyes. So we're going to summon out our copy of Odd Eyes Dissolver, which is really important to be able to summon because this card can actually fusion summon, which is really neat. So at this point, we're going to summon out a copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. And once we do, we're going to go ahead and use this card's monster effect that you can, at the start of the damage step, or this card can actually count as polymerization, which is kind of cool because during the main phase, you can fusion summon a fusion monster in your X deck using this card you control and fusion materials as well as other monsters that you control or cards in your Pendulum Zone, which is kind of neat. So we're just going to go ahead and use these two to be able to fusion summon into our copy of our Odd Eyes Venom Dragon, which is our first one we're actually going to summon out to the field, which is really neat to just go ahead ahead and get that card on the field. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and pass over to the opponent. Now, this card is really neat to be able to put on the field right off the bat, because this card just takes a Starving Venom monster plus any Odd Eyes monster to summon this card. And this card can actually get absolutely massive, because it must first be fusion summoned, or it must be fusion summoned and cannot be pendulum summoned, or can then be pendulum summoned. And then once per turn, you can target one face-up monster that your opponent controls. Until the end phase, this card gains attack equal to the attack of that monster, and if it does, this card's name becomes that monster's original name and replaces monster effect with that monster's original effect, which is kind of cool, but that it basically just takes on that monster, which is kind of cool. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and let the opponent go, do whatever they need to do, and we're going to go ahead and go again for our turn, which we're going to draw into a copy of Perform Pal's Skullcrabat Joker, which is going to set us up for another play. So we're going to go ahead and normal summon out our copy of Skullcrabat Joker to our side of the field, and at this point, we're going to go ahead and search the deck for another copy of our Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, or you can search out a copy of Phantom Dragon, but basically just want to get a level 7 monster to our hand so that we can actually go in for an XZ play. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and Pendulum Summon for 2, which we're going to summon out our copy of Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon and our copy of Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon to our side of the field. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and overlay both of these monsters on my side of the field to be able to go directly in for a copy of either, depending on which one I want to summon, either a copy of Absolute Dragon if I want to go for the copy of Odd Eyes Winged Dragon, which is kind of weird, but let's go ahead and show you that play really quickly. So you can actually go ahead and go in for Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon and link these away on your side of the field to the graveyard, which I'm just going to set these right up here because they're going to go into the graveyard, but we're going to back up the play to show you how to summon the other one. And we're going to summon out from our extra deck a Pendulum monster, like a copy of Beyond the Pendulum, which just takes 2 effect monsters plus a Pendulum monster to summon to your side of the field. So the effect of our Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon actually goes off, which lets us special summon from our extra deck a copy of an Odd Eyes monster if this card is sent to the graveyard, which is going to be our Odd Eyes Winged Dragon that you can actually get to your side of the field really quickly like that, which is really kind of nice. I really like that effect a lot. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and just back up the play and show you guys what else you can do to summon out your copy of your other Odd Eyes monster, which is kind of cool. So if you leave these monsters on the field like we had originally and make a different XZ play instead of summoning out your copy of your Absolute Dragon, you can actually overlay both of these on your side of the field to make your copy of Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon, and then make a copy of Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon Overload immediately on top of it, which is kind of neat. I really like to make this card on the field to OTK the opponent because it can actually attack 3 times, which is really, really good. So you can make these really insane, easy fields to be able to OTK the opponent. But let's go ahead and make the copy of Winged Dragon, which is a little bit easier to go ahead and just make that copy of Winged Dragon because it's actually a walking negate if we can't OTK the opponent, which is kind of cool just to be able to get that card on our side of the field. Now this is actually going to go to the extra deck, and we're going to make a copy of our Odd Eyes Beyond, or we're going to make a copy of Beyond the Pendulum, and then we're going to go ahead and summon out our copy of Winged Dragon. We're actually going to summon out all 3 in this particular test hand, which is kind of neat, because then we can use the effect of Beyond the Pendulum to be able to search out of the deck a Pendulum monster, which is kind of cool. So we're just going to search out any Pendulum monster that we need. Doesn't really matter which one. We're just going to grab it from deck to hand, like a copy of our Astrograph. You don't even have to activate the effect to be able to go in for the next card, because you pretty much all you have to do is pass over to the opponent for their next turn, because then we're going to go ahead and summon out some monsters from the extra deck. We're just going to grab a level 7 monster from our we're actually going to grab any level 7 that we need from the deck. I'm actually going to grab a dragon monster because this card actually takes a dragon. So we're going to grab our copy of Odd Eyes Phantom Dragon instead of our copy of Astrograph, because it's going to give us another level 7 dragon monster to make Rebellion, which is really, really important. So we're going to grab that card directly from our deck to our hand. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and pass back over to the opponent, let them do whatever they need to do. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and Pendulum Summon one more time to be able to summon out an additional monster to our side of the field, which is our copy of Gate 0 and a copy of our Phantom Dragon, which is kind of neat. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and use the copy of Gate 0 to be able to pop on our side of the field an additional card. Well, we really don't need to. We can actually just go ahead and use these 2 on our side of the field to be able to make our copy of Odd Eyes Rebellion and then overload on on our side of the field because we had a dragon already. So you can actually make all 3 of them fairly easily, about 1 per turn, depending on what your setup is. So that's actually how you summon out all 3 of them, which is kind of neat. So let's go ahead and do another test hand really quick and see what we can do, because depending on your opening hand, if you can get 2 level 7s out in your field, you can summon out the copy of Rebellion. If you can get 2 level 7s plus any other monster, you can summon out your copy of Wing. And if you can get out a Link monster, and if you can get out a copy of your Gate 0 along with another monster and Arc Pendulum in the Pendulum scale, you can actually get out your copy of Venom, which is kind of cool. I really like this deck a lot. It's super fun to be able to play, and it's just kind of neat to be able to put all those cards on the field because you get those really neat plays, and it's super fun to be able to pull off those really cool plays. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck again and see what we can do for the next one. You go through a lot of different extra deck cards, so make sure that you're playing different color sleeves for your main deck. Like you guys saw, I shuffled up my copy of Starving Venom into the main deck because I didn't actually see it in the graveyard, but that is something that as I play a deck like this that goes through so many different extra deck cards, you might want to play different color sleeves on your extra deck and on your main deck. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck again and see what we can do for another test hand. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of our Arc Pendulum, a copy of Astrograph, a copy of our Perform Pal Odd Eyes Synchron, Odd Eyes Fusion, and a copy of Spiral Flame Strike. So this is kind of a neat hand right off the bat that you can pull off some really good plays. So we're going to go ahead and activate the copy of Spiral Flame Strike to be able to search from our deck to our hand a level 7 Odd Eyes monster, which I usually grab the copy of Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon if I already had the copy of Arc Pendulum Dragon. Now you can do some really simple plays with this particular hand. You're actually not going to summon out any of them with this opening hand. So we're going to go ahead and throw our scales with these 2 monsters on the field and pass over to the opponent. Now once we do, our effect of our Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon is going to go off during the end phase to pop itself to be able to search from our deck an additional monster that has 1500 or less attack that is a Pendulum monster, which is kind of cool because this card can search any of those cards that we need. So that's a really good effect to be able to use on this card. I really like that effect on this card, that you just get to add any Pendulum monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. So at this point, we're going to go Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, Chain Link 3, because this card actually will activate as well, because this card has the ability that if a card you control is destroyed by battle by card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand and the monster that was destroyed this turn and add a monster with the same name from your deck to your hand, which is really cool to be able to just choose any of the monsters in the graveyard, extra deck, or that's banished and be able to add one from deck to hand, which is going to get us an additional monster, which is kind of neat. So we're going to go ahead and grab from our deck to our hand our copy of Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. Then the effect of our Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon will go off to special summon out an Odd Eyes monster to our side of the field, which I'm just going to special summon out my copy of my Odd Eyes Phantom Dragon to the field. And then I'm going to use the effect of my Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon to be able to search out a monster with 15 or less attack, which is going to be my Odd Eyes Persona Dragon, which is going to give me an additional monster to my hand. So you get all those really good monsters right off the bat just by setting your scales and passing, which is kind of cool. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and pass over to the opponent. Once the opponent goes, if they can deal with this field, then we're going to go ahead and get rid of these cards. But if they can't, they're just going to sit on the field. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and go back to our turn, draw for turn into a Sky Iris, which is perfect. We're going to go ahead and activate Sky Iris, throw a scale for a scale 1, and then we're going to go ahead and Pendulum summon out both of our Odd Eyes, which is really cool, and normal summon out our copy of Perform Pal, or go ahead and Pendulum summon it out. Totally up to you guys which way you want to go. But at this point, we do have the copy of Sky Iris that can pop the copy of Persona Dragon. If you want to wait and go ahead and summon out the Persona Dragon later, you totally can if you want to go ahead and link summon before, but it's not really necessary to be able to do. So we're going to use Sky Iris to be able to search the deck for an additional Odd Eyes card, which is going to help us out just a little bit to grab another Persona Dragon from our deck to our hand. Totally fine, but we're basically just trying to make a copy of Rebellion to OTK, so we have some really easy plays. So at this point, we're going to use the copy of our Arc Pendulum to be able to special summon out to our side of the field, because our field would be full at this point anyways, so it doesn't really matter. I just like to put that card in my hand. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and summon out a copy of Persona Dragon, and I'm actually going to go ahead and synchro summon using my copy of my Odd Eyes Synchron, which is kind of cool because this card has the ability, if this card is special summon from the extract, it's used as a synchro material, banish it. And when this card is normal summon, you can target a level 3 or lower form pal or odd eyes monster in the graveyard and special summon it, but it has its effects negated. And then once per turn, you can target one card in your Pendulum Zone, special summon it, but it has its effects negated. And if you do, immediately this card resolves, synchro summon or special summon a synchro monster, only using that monster and this card. But we're just going to use it as a regular tuner monster to be able to go in for a copy of Clear Wing, which is kind of neat to just go ahead and get that monster on the field to be able to kind of clean up the field, which is kind of neat that you can actually summon this card in this deck. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and overlay both of our Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragons or the copy of our Odd Eyes Phantom Dragon. I just like to go ahead and get rid of the copy of my Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon to be able to make a copy of our Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon, and then our copy of Overload immediately afterwards on top of it, which is just really nice to be able to make both of these on our side of the field to OTK the opponent, because this card can actually attack 3 times. Now, this is in our hand, so we're going to go ahead and throw Scales on our side of the field, which is just going to help us out a lot to be able to go in for some more plays later on. And you do have the copy of Odd Eyes Fusion, lets you fusion summon a Dragon Fusion monster from your extract using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. So if you want to, you can go ahead and use the copy of Odd Eyes Fusion to fusion summon into an additional monster, which is going to help you out because you have an Odd Eyes Phantom and a copy of Astrograph to be able to make a copy of Odd Eyes Vortex, or you can go in for a copy of a Starving Venom, totally up to you because both of these monsters are dark. So I usually go in for the copy of Vortex because it gives me an additional negate to make sure that I'm going to go in with my plays to be able to OTK, and plus you've got a Fusion, a Synchro, and an XZ monster on your side of the field all at once. Again, you can put this card into attack position to help you OTK a little bit more, but this card already has that insane effect that you basically just make it like a copy of Utopia the Lightning, which is kind of neat because you can also XZ summon this card using a Rebellion XZ monster you control as material, and then you just transfer all the materials to this card. And if you can Pendulum summon 7, then you can Pendulum summon this face-up card from your extract, and this card that was XZ summoned using a rank 7 XZ monster as a material, which we did, can make up to 3 attacks during each battle phase, not just on monsters, but just in general as a 3k attack point monster to help you OTK the opponent. So you get some really interesting fields with this deck. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and draw for turn to go into the next turn, just to say that we couldn't OTK the opponent, but they couldn't out this field. And we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of our Odd Eyes Dissolver, which isn't going to do all that much for us at this point because we already have a pretty established field. But you can go ahead and Pendulum summon if you want back your copy of your Odd Eyes Phantom Dragon, just to give you a little extra damage. So let's go ahead into the next test hand, because as you guys can see, this deck is consistent. It's really fun to be able to play, and there's so many different ways to play this particular hand. You guys might see a completely different line that you want to go instead of the way that I went, which is totally okay about this deck. That's what's really neat. And definitely comment down below which way you would have gone with each one of the test hands. That's totally fine. I love to see those down in the comments down below, because it's a learning experience not only for you guys, but for me as well. I know how to play this deck, but I might see, or you guys might see a combo that I didn't. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck again and see what we can do for one more test hand. I really wanted to show you guys in that first test hand how to summon out Odd Eyes Wing, Venom, and Rebellion, which is really cool because you can actually summon them out fairly easily in this deck. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle it up and see what we can do for the next one. So let's go ahead and draw and see what we can do. So we're going to draw a copy of Persona Dragon, a copy of Supreme King Dragon Darkworm. That's already pretty good because now we have our copy of Gate 0. Terraforming, that's really good. Gate Infinity, and a copy of Phantom Dragon. So this is actually not that bad right off the bat. So what we're going to do is go ahead and activate our copy of Terraforming to grab Sky Iris, which is really important to be able to grab that card from our deck to our hand. That's like a really pivotal point of the deck that you want to get. You don't have to have it, but it's really helpful to be able to get to Sky Iris as quickly as possible to be able to use the effect of your copy of Arc Pendulum, which we're actually going to have some really interesting ways to be able to pull off to get to that card. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and activate our copy of Sky Iris and normal summon out our copy of Darkworm. Darkworm is going to be able to search out from the deck our copy of Gate 0, which we're going to summon out in just a minute to be able to get its effect off. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and use the effect of Sky Iris that lets us target a card on the field and destroy it. And then once we do, we get to add an Odd Eyes card from our deck to our hand. So it doesn't matter which one we add, but I'm always going to add a copy of Arc Pendulum because I'm trying to get to that card as quickly as possible. If you guys would like to check out the deck profile, it is always down in the description down below. But we're going to go ahead and throw these into scale. I usually like to throw Persona and my Arc Pendulum because it's a scale 8 and a scale 1. And then we're going to Pendulum Summon for 3 onto our side of the field. But this card actually would be popped off the copy of Sky Iris, so we're going to put this in the extra deck, and then we're going to Pendulum Summon it back out, because it was popped with the Sky Iris as our target to get our copy of Arc Pendulum. So at this point, we're going to Pendulum Summon out 3 to our side of the field, getting both of the gates on our side of the field, which is kind of neat. But at this point, we're going to go ahead and use the effect of Gate 0 to pop Gate Infinity to get them off the field, or pop the copy of Dark Worm to be able to pop both of these to leave us a level 7 monster on the field. So we're going to go ahead and pop both of these monsters to be able to summon out from the extract our copy of Starving Venom, but the effect of our Arc Pendulum actually would activate as well to be able to summon out that copy of Dissolver from the deck to be able to go in for the same play that we did before. We're actually going to use both of these monsters on the field to go in for an additional play, which is kind of neat. So at this point, we're going to summon out the copy of Dissolver and the copy of Starving Venom, fusion summon both of these monsters, and then once we do, we're going to summon out from the extra deck a copy of our Odd Eyes Venom Dragon right there, which is kind of cool because now we have at least one of them out on the field. And then at this point, we can go ahead and overlay both of these monsters into another card from our extra deck, which if you want to make the copy of Absolute Dragon, you can. It is a really good card to make it by itself because when an opponent's monster clears an attack, you can detach material from this card and negate the attack, and then you can special summon an Odd Eyes monster from your hand or graveyard, which we do have a copy of our Odd Eyes Dissolver because we used it as a fusion material, which is kind of cool. But you can also make other plays if you want to. Instead, you can link for your copy of Beyond the Pendulum, which will get you a search, but it's totally up to you which way you want to go. I'm going to go ahead and make the copy of Absolute Dragon, which is going to be a little bit more helpful later on, because if they do make it leave the field, I can just get the copy of Winged Dragon onto the field, which is kind of nice. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and pass over to the opponent. Once they go ahead and do their thing, we're going to go ahead and draw for turn, and we're going to draw into a copy of Gate 0 and go ahead and Pendulum Summon for 2. We're going to go ahead and Pendulum Summon out both of these monsters, link away this on our side of the field, and once we do, this is going to go to the extra deck, and this is going to go to the graveyard, and once we do that, we're going to go ahead and special summon out our copy of Beyond the Pendulum. And we're also going to special summon out our copy of Winged Dragon to our side of the field as well, but you're going to want to summon it here so you don't lock down your zone. That's really important that you don't lock down your zone. So you can actually make this card down here instead to make sure that these two zones are open later on, because this was special summoned from the hand anyways. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and use the effect of Beyond the Pendulum to search the deck. You could have gotten additional play because you could have used the Sky Iris to be able to pop a card on the field if you wanted to, but it's not really necessary, but you can do it if you want to. But the Beyond the Pendulum is going to be able to search the deck for an additional card, like a copy of our Astrograph Sorcerer, which is going to help us out later on. But at this point, we can go ahead and attack with both of these monsters and help us go in for game. So I think that pretty much shows how the deck plays. It's really, really fun to be able to play. Again, you guys might see different combo lines that I didn't, which is really cool about this deck, is that there's so many different ways, depending on the situation, which boss monster you actually want to summon out to the field. The main focus of the deck is to be able to summon out your copy of Venom, Wing, and your copies of Rebellion and Rebellion Overload on top of one another, which is really, really cool about this deck, to be able to summon out all of these monsters. It's very easy to do because basically as long as you can get 2 level 7s on the field to make Absolute, you can make your copy of Winged Dragon. If you can make your copy of a Odd Eyes Dissolver on your side of the field and Starving Venom with the combo that I showed you guys in the first test hand, you can make this card, and it's super easy to make this because it just takes 2 level 7 dragons to make your copy of your Rebellion Dragon, so it's really, really easy to play this deck. So I think that's going to do it for this one, guys. This deck is just really cool. I really like it. If you guys would like to check out the deck profile, as always, it is down in the description down below. I really like playing around this deck. I'm excited that Zach actually suggested this one because I've, again, always wanted to build a deck based around the different forms of Odd Eyes, and I think this one actually really did it well. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.